Good afternoon. On behalf of our team at RDIEC, we would like to welcome Matt Anhalt, a senior manager at Virtus Group here in Regina, to speak to us this afternoon and to discuss the type of work that they do, the training they receive, the characteristics they are looking for in a candidate, and the career opportunities, salary expectations, and the working conditions for an accountant. Just a reminder to students, if you are watching this presentation, please go to our website found at www.rdic.ca or click on the QR code to access a survey. By completing the survey, you are automatically entered to win a $50 gift card for which will be drawn for at the end of this month. On behalf of our team, we'd like to welcome Matt and to hear a little bit about the life and times of an accountant. I'm going to turn my face off and I'm going to let Matt take over. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm Matt Anhalt. I'm a senior manager here at Virtus Group, as was stated. But I'm here today. I hope everyone's doing well. If you're viewing this a little bit later, hope you're having a great day. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is just accounting as a career. You know, it's an opportunity. Think about it. When I was in your positions, when I was in high school, I never thought I was going to be an accountant. But all these years later, here I am. So I just want to highlight a few things and kind of really highlight what we do, what it looks like, and where we go from here. So first off, who am I? I talked about myself. So main things I focus on are agriculture services. That's one of the industries, which I'll talk about a little bit later, as well as oil and gas, and work with a lot of clients in the oil and gas industry. So here's a picture of me. We just had recent new headshots. So here's a picture of me that you can see more than just the little square box of my head here. So what do accountants do? Hollywood says that we have a certain type of person that we are. And so we thought, you know, it's a great thing to start off with. What my friends think I do, they think I just sit around all day and just count money bills. What my mom thinks I do, well, she thinks that every day, all I do is just sit in phone calls, which some days, that's a lot of what I do, sitting in meetings and sitting in phone calls and talking with clients. Society, like I said, originally I had a video clip here from a show called Parks and Recreation that I think out of all the ways that Hollywood has demonstrated what an accountant is, Parks and Recreation does a really good job of doing that. They make accountants look a certain way, which I think is hilarious. It's quite funny. But society thinks that we just spend all day punching numbers on a calculator and that accountants are great at math, which I'll talk about more a little bit later. What my boss thinks I do, you know, just sitting back, relaxing in my chair all day long. What I feel like I actually do, sometimes this feels like what I actually do is working through paperwork and helping people and working through clients. And if you guys could see the rest of my office, I tried to set my camera in a way that cut off some of the paperwork, because there is sometimes a little bit of paperwork all askew in my office, but there's lots to work through, so it's good. But in reality, in the technological age that we live in, a lot of what we do is sit in front of our computers and work through numbers and help clients and really look at the numbers that the clients have and then interpret what that means for clients, what that means for their business, and how they can move forward using some of the historical numbers and do some planning going forward. So if you guys can see my office, I got 3 monitors going right now so that I can have everything going at the same time and I can see exactly what's going on. So, you know, I'll start off with some awesome things about being an accountant, what it looks like. So the first thing about being an accountant is that you'll always be in demand. Everyone needs an accountant. One of the stories that really sticks with me is when I was in university, I was taking my second accounting class in university, and the prof said to me, if you're looking for job security, accountant's a good occupation to be in. From the standpoint of when the economy is really strong and everybody has a lot of money and things are going well, people need to know how to plan. You know, how do we structure the income that we're earning? What do we do here? How do we plan our business to help our business keep growing? So accountants are in high demand when things are good, and when things are bad, accountants are also in high demand because people need to know, what can I cut? What expenses can I cut? What can I do here? How can I save for who knows what things are going to be at in the future? So how can I save? So no matter the situation, boom or bust, as we like to say, accountants are always in demand. So that's an awesome thing about being an accountant. Next one you got here is you get to help other people's businesses take off. So one thing with that is that we get to be part of so many different industries. You get to, every day there's new variety and you get to help people. You know, one of the things that I was asked when I first interviewed to work at Virtus Group was, Matt, what do you want out of your career? And a big part that I wanted is I wanted to help people each and every day. I understood that finances were something that a lot of people struggle with. Finances can be a confusing thing. They can be a stressful thing. And one thing I wanted to do was help people navigate through some of those difficult times and through some of those questions that they might have. So I get to help people in all sorts of, like I said, majority of my clients now are in agriculture and in oil and gas. And I get to help them as they start up. And I get to work with a lot of individuals that they're just starting farming and they're looking to incorporate. So I get to walk them through that process and walk them through what that looks like and some of the stresses that might come through there and help relieve a little bit of stress for them. Another thing, you'll never get bored because you're learning constantly. You know, it's actually January 2021 now, and I started my career at Virtus Group as a co-op student in my third year of university in January of 2011. So it's been exactly 10 years that I've been working at Virtus Group here. And I can honestly say each day it feels like I learned something new. From the standpoint of clients, there's new industries, there's new changes to clients' industries, and I got to stay on top of those things so that I can help my clients navigate through that. The governments are always changing. Every time a political party changes, one time or the other, there's new tax regulations and there's new tax implications that we have to navigate through. So I'm constantly learning those. Regularly, I'll have clients email me or call me and ask me a question, and I can say to them, you know what? I've never come across that before, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig into it and I'm going to learn and I'm going to research, and I'll provide you with how we can move forward from here. So each day I'm learning something new, and an accounting firm that I work in is a great place. It's a place where everybody understands that there is a lot of learning to do and there's a lot to work through. So we work through it together. You know, we have different experts. I might have other managers in the firm that don't have as much oil and gas experience as I have. So they'll come to my office and we'll talk about it, and we can teach each other and learn from one another. So if learning is something that you're excited about and you enjoy doing, I would highly recommend considering accounting, because it's an occupation and a career where you're learning every day. Another thing here, you're an expert that others will respect and trust. Everyone thinks that accountants are really good at math, that if you're good at math class, then you should seek a career in accounting. I wouldn't necessarily say that. After 10 years of doing it, I would say accountants, what we're good at is not necessarily math, because nowadays a lot of the math is done in the programs. You know, we input a few numbers and it kicks out, but what we're good at is interpreting what that means. When I have a number, what does that mean? What does that mean to a client? What does that mean to their business? How can they utilize that number to make their business be successful? And how can they utilize that number to move forward? Whether, you know, if they are struggling, how can we utilize those numbers and interpret them in a way that makes sense to them and can help their business move forward and be successful? And people trust that. You know, you, like it says here, you're an expert, and others respect that and trust that. So if that is something that rings true with you, accounting might be something to seek out a little bit more. You know, next slide, more awesome things about being an accountant. So there's loads of flexibility. Like I said, the type of work, there's tons of different industries in accounting. So every day there's a variety. Where you work, it is a very, through COVID here, it's been something that we have been able to work from home. Now, I work from home, you know, 2 to 3 days a week, and I'm in the office 2 to 3 days of the week. Just depending on the week and what needs to be done, there's a lot that we can do remotely. You know, even from that aspect, another aspect from where you work, there's so many different industries that you can work in, because every industry, if there's some kind of finances or numbers involved, there's an opportunity. There's probably an accountant on staff. There's probably an accountant or someone in finance. So having that accounting knowledge gives you the flexibility to work in almost any industry or any occupation as well from there. So as you train to be a CPA, your company may pay for it. That is something specifically within accounting firms that is done. So what is the CPA? Some of you may be asking. The CPA it's the designation, the professional designation of an accountant. So accountants will go to university, like I'll talk about, go to university, get their degree, and then they can get this additional accreditation, this additional designation as a chartered professional accountant. So there's a cost associated with going through that schooling, just like there is with university. And often what will happen is the companies, as you're going through that process, the companies will pay for that. So that's, for the most part, not an expense coming out of your pocket. That's something that's coming out of the company, and you get the benefit of it. So there's that. The money is good. You know, when I started my career, 10 years now, I've more than doubled with what I started at. So the income is good. Coming out of university, and I was surprised at what I was making and where I could go from there. And just the potential of doing it as well. Because like I said, it's a in demand career. There is a high demand for accountants, and because of that, there's good pay associated with the demand. It's simple economics, price, demand, and supply calculation would demonstrate that. So there's no ceiling on how high you can go. And what we mean by that is when you come out of university, you start at the bottom, but if you look around and if you do some research and you look at different businesses that you're interested in or industries that you're interested in, if you look at the CEOs or the CFOs, or the people that are on the executive team and are high up, often they'll have their CPAs, and a CPA or an accounting is a great foundational spot to start, to continue to move up. And it can be an entire career progression. And there's so much opportunity to progress your career and to continue to learn, like I talked about earlier, and to continue to progress. And then being an accountant can lead to all types of work. I know a lot of CPAs that now they probably don't do a lot of accounting. I have some clients that they own and manage and operate a business. They have their CPAs, but they actually don't do a lot of accounting anymore. But having that foundational understanding of accounting and of business has led them to be great business operators. And to have that basic understanding about the finances and the foundation of a business, because you can have a great business plan, but if you don't have a great finance plan, the business could potentially not be very successful, because the finances are what helps the business to operate. So being an accountant can lead and can be that kind of kickstart into some other aspects of running a business and owning a business. So I'm going to touch a bit more here on education and training. So to be totally honest with you guys, I didn't take any education or training towards being an accountant until I was 20. I went through high school and I had the opportunity. I could take a power mechanics class and work on my dad's motorcycle and get that fixed up, or I could take accounting. And in grade 10, it seemed a lot more exciting to work on my dad's motorcycle, because then I could get my motorcycle license and I could drive it than working with debits and credits. In hindsight, I quite enjoy working with debits and credits now, and I've learned a lot from it, and I've made a career out of it. But education and training. Once you get out of high school, you can move into the U of R is one spot, or there is also accounting offered through SAS Polytech. But my route was I went to the U of R. I got my bachelor's of accounting, bachelor's of business administration, majoring in accounting. And it's a 4-year program. I also did the co-op as well. So it extended my period of time as well, but I would highly recommend the co-op from the perspective is it allows you to get practical experience. It allows you to take what you're learning in a classroom structure and to apply that to real life clients. And it just helps solidify some of that learning even from the co-op program. So some of that learning that you're doing. But I really enjoyed it from the perspective of I was in my, 3rd year university and I had taken some classes, but I had no idea, is this what I want to do for the rest of my career? So I took the co-op program. It was 4 months working. If I found out I loved it, great. I can continue to move forward. If I found out, maybe accounting isn't for me, I'd only committed 4 months to it, and I could still change my major and still work towards something else. But I ended up really enjoying it. And like I said before, 10 years later, I'm still here. So once you have your accounting major, you start working with a firm. Like I talked about, there's the Chartered Professional Accountant designation. So what that is, a little bit more in depth, is that 6 modules, and then it leads to a final exam. So each of the modules will specialize on a specific part of accounting. So it will specialize in financial reporting. It could specialize in management type accounting, taxation, audit and assurance, social or corporate governance is another one. Finance is another one. So it has a special aspect to it. So you can learn a more in-depth industry-specific specialization that you get tested on and learn from. Then we have what's called the CFE, or the Common Final Exam. So what that is it is the biggest exam I've ever written, because it is a 3-day exam. So how it works is you have 3 days, and each day you're tested on something different. So each day, I think the first day is 4-hour exam where you're just tested on one specific subject. The next day is 5 hours where you're tested on another specific subject. And the final day is another 4-hour exam where you're tested on pretty much a breadth of anything that they could test you on. Anything that has to do with accounting is free game on that third day. As well, to get your CPA, you got to go through the 6 modules, write the final exam, pass the final exam, and then you also have to have 30 months of practical work experience. And there are specific areas that are specific companies and specific firms that are accredited to be a training facility. And you have to have 30 months of experience there as well. And then once you meet all those credentials, you pass the 6 modules, you pass the final exam, and you have your 30 months of work experience, then you apply for your CPA designation, you have your designation. From there, the ongoing training, whether it's through the CPA Institute, so the institute itself will offer courses throughout the year as well, but then there's also in-house, working at a firm, or readings or webinars. Especially now, a lot more webinars have been coming out in this past year, and the ability to learn on your own time has been a lot more prominent. So we've been doing that a lot more, but it's required as a CPA, as a professional accountant, to constantly be taking courses in that area to learn and to continue to grow, so that we're always on top of what's changing in the industry and what's changing day to day. The next area is the areas of specialization. So I like to use the umbrella analogy here. So once you finish high school, you move on to university. Within university, or college, there's so many different aspects. You can be business or education, or you can go into medicine or physiotherapy or kinesiology, or there's so many different branches that come out of university. So my route, I went with business. I like working with people and I like working with numbers. So I thought, I have no idea what I want to do, but let's give business a try. Then once you pick business, there's another bunch of branches that come out of business. There's looking at, you have accounting, you have finance. So then you have marketing, you have HR. There's just so many different branches in there, and you get to test all of those. And the university does a really good job in allowing each individual and having each individual try each of them to build that understanding and that core understanding of business. And so once I started trying those, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but once I started trying those, I found out I really enjoyed accounting. So that's what I started to pursue. Once you get into accounting, this is where we start getting into this area of specialization. So within accounting, we have financial accounting. So that's when you see, like, when you hear the term financial statements or the debits and the credits, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the financial reporting standards that the governance of the CPA Institute has said, if you are a business, you must report using these standards, so that some people aren't reporting under one set of standards and some people aren't reporting another. It gives it so that anybody can look at a financial statement and can know that business to business, the numbers are being reported on consistently. So there's financial accounting, there's audit and assurance, which is people do their bookkeeping and people do their work and do their reporting. Then you have another team in to provide a level of assurance and certainty that those numbers are reported correctly, that within those numbers, nothing has been misstated. So that's an area of specific specialization, because there's specific requirements in audit and assurance and understanding through the processes in that. Another area is tax. So tax is something that we all are impacted in. If you're a Canadian, tax is going to impact you in one way. Every time we go somewhere, you go and you go out for food or you buy something at the store, you are being impacted by tax. By paying GST, the goods and service tax, we are all impacted by tax. And tax impacts every business. There's income taxes, there's goods and services taxes, there's provincial taxes. So having an understanding of how these tax rules work and what are ways to work through the tax process, and how do we tax plan, and how do we work through that, that's a whole different area. We have a whole team of individuals that's what they specialize in. They spend the majority of their time working on that and understanding the ins and outs of tax so that they can help our clients be successful when it comes to tax aspects. Business valuation. So what that is looking at is if I have a company and I wanted to sell my company to you or to another individual, how do I value that company? What is that company worth? So there's a whole team that we have here at Virtus Group that specializes in valuing companies. Whether they have a bunch of assets on their books or whether they generate a bunch of income, how do you value that? And how do you find out whether, if you go to sell it to somebody, that you're asking for the right price for what you're selling? So we have a team that will do that. We have a team of for corporate finance and business consulting, that what they're looking at there is advisory. So they're advising, not necessarily always. This is kind of where it comes back into that interpretation a little bit of the numbers, but they're looking at the numbers and what's going on in the business to consult and to help that business grow. And those might not necessarily even be numbers. Those might be sometimes what we would like to call as qualitative factors of you might have two individuals in a business that view where the business should go a little bit differently. So helping consult through those decisions as well is something that that accountants can specialize in. So next one here, career paths. So within accounting, like I said earlier, there's a ton of different places you can go. So the first one I want to highlight here is accounting firms. So within Saskatchewan alone, so just the province of Saskatchewan, there are over 300 Saskatchewan accounting firms. You know, of that 300, some of them are those giant international firms, those ones that when you're watching a TV show that you see this giant KPMG or Deloitte on the top of a building. There's MNP, which is another large firm. Then there's some mid-sized firms, and that's what Virtus Group is. Virtus Group, we are the largest independent accounting firm in Saskatchewan. So that means we have a total of about 100 to 120 staff that work in either our Regina office or our Saskatoon office, but we serve clients all throughout Canada. So even though we are Saskatchewan based and all our decisions are made in Saskatchewan, we help clients in Alberta and we help clients in BC. We have clients in Ontario that we work with. So it's kind of a cool age that we live in with technology, that we can serve clients, even though we're in Saskatchewan, that we can serve and help clients all throughout Canada. There's some smaller firms that are, you know, between 5 to 10 people. And we know a lot of individual accountants that just operate just out of their house or out of their own office as well. So there's a lot of different sizes that you can be in. As well, if you decide to not go the public accounting route, there is industry and there is government as well. And like I said before, pretty much everything, there is some kind of finance. If there's finance involved, there's likely an accountant on staff. So there's CFO, which is the chief financial officer. There's controllers, there's AP, there's bookkeepers. So there are lots of different areas where as an accountant, you can have a career in these areas. Positions within an accounting firm. So because this is my specialty, because this is with our work, I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through necessarily the industry and the government aspect of things. I'm going to spend a lot of my time going through an accounting firm because that's what I know best. That's where I've been my entire career. So within an accounting firm, there's 3 different positions. I'm going to actually start at the bottom here and start with preparers because that's where everybody starts. Starting with preparers, we have preparers that don't have their CPA. We have preparers that are working through their CPA, and we have preparers that have their CPA. So there's accountants, and there's technicians, and there's senior accountants, and those are our preparers. And what I'm gonna be doing here shortly is going through each of these positions and letting you guys know what it looks like, a day in the life of that type of person, of that level of position. So the next is that we have managers. So what managers are doing is they're managing clients. So they have their own client base that they're managing and they're working with. And then they're also working with the preparers to prepare those files. We kind of use a bit of leveraging system a little bit so that we have multiple people working on a file. So when a file comes in, preparers are working on it, managers are working on it, and partners are involved in it as well. So the managers are kind of working through, and as the position describes, they're managing. Partners, so partners are the people that have been here the longest. They own a part of the business. So as a group, they each own a partnership section or portion within the business. And they are the ones that the clients are theirs. They have the strongest relationship with the clients. And they're the ones that have a little bit more expertise and a little bit more experience and specialization and can help in different areas to help their clients. Next slide here, we got a day in the life of a preparer. So what does it look like? The preparers will pretty much do this for the first 2 to 3 years. And this is where a lot of learning happens, a lot of growth happens. And they're doing this while they're also taking online classes. So my first 2 to 3 years of being an accountant, you see a lot of accounting. You become an expert very quickly because for that first time period, you're working and working through accounting for about 8 hours a day at work, and then you often go home and you're going to be doing homework and working on things for another hour and a half to 2 hours, sometimes a night. It averages out. You're not only doing that, but it averages out to about that. And it's a lot of learning and a great growth opportunity to work for. And the work, I will guarantee it, I have never heard from an accountant that got to the end of it and said it was not worth it. So it's definitely worth it. So what do? They prepare financial statements and they prepare tax returns. So they're the ones that are working through, going through the details of building the financial statements that are going to go to the client. And then often the client will take those financial statements and they'll go to a banker or they'll go to an investor or they'll look at those financial statements to help them make business decisions. The next part that they do is they apply accounting principles and standards. So everything that they learned as they're going through CPA on a daily basis, they're using those standards to present this information accurately and to build this information so it can be used accurately. They're posing questions, to the clients. We like to use the term queries. They're querying the client on their business because we aren't with the client every day. As they're making business decisions, we're not necessarily with them as they're making those decisions. So when we get the information from the client, we might look at it and there could still be holes within that information that we have to talk to the client to fill in some of those holes, to make sure that we're understanding it and that we're helping the client to make those decisions and to present that information accurately. So we ask those questions with the decisions so that we can know what's going on in their business exactly. We help to identify issues and potential solutions. Within accounting, there's a lot of different variables and things are always changing. And if one variable changes, it changes the entire way that something's presented sometimes. So we're helping to identify the client could have done 95% of it right. But there's that 5% that they're looking to us as their accountant because they trust us and they know that we're an expert at it. They're looking at us to identify that 5% that they may have missed or they may have just not allocated quite correctly and to make sure that things are presented correctly. So the preparers help to identify those issues and then help to identify potential solutions to correct those issues. And the last thing they do is prepare recommendations for the client. So as we're working through, the preparers will sometimes say, you know what, the client did this and it led to this issue, but if the client did this, it would make it better. And provide that recommendation to the client to say, you know what, this is what you should do going forward. And it's going to make doing this process or going through this time, it's going to make that easier and more beneficial for you and for your business. So that's the day in the life of a preparer. It's like I say, it's a lot of variety because one thing that I always was excited about is when I was going through my co-op and when I was a preparer was every day I knew that the day was going to fly by because I was working on something. I was never sitting idle. You're constantly learning, you're constantly growing. So it was really exciting to have that opportunity to do that each and every day when I came to work. A day in the life of a manager. So like I said, we're responsible for a group of clients. So I looked at my list the other day. I think my total number of corporations that I am responsible for is about 150 different clients that I work with, and I work with them personally, and I know their business, and I know what's going on, that I get the opportunity to work with each day and each year to help them and to see their business. I've had the opportunity when I first started on co-op. One of the companies I worked with was just a brand new oil and gas company that was drilling a well. And I got to see them as I progressed as a preparer. I got to see their business grow. And then right before I became a manager, they actually sold their business. And so I got to see the process of their business growing to a sale. Then they took those proceeds from the sale and they started another business. And I'm still the manager with them now, but I've got to see their whole business life cycle and walk with them and work with them through that, which has been really neat to see as well. I plan and assign work to preparers. So because different files have different levels of complexity with them, one thing that we do is because we know our clients, we know the level of complexity required to prepare that, is we have to determine where someone's level of learning is at and where they're at in their career and whether the level of complexity is a good place for them to learn and to grow, or if it's going to be a little too much, or if it's going to be way too easy for them, just so that we can continue to learn and continue that progression on as an accountant. We oversee the quality of work. So when a preparer works with a client and prepares a file, it then goes to the manager. The manager reviews it and makes sure that the quality is there. And then it goes to the partner, and the partner makes sure that the quality is there. So we actually have two different levels of review to make sure that, because we are experts and things need to be right, we have these double checks and these checks to make sure that everything is correct in our presentation and in our classifications. And then lastly here, we're a point of contact for the clients. So we we regularly are getting emails and getting phone calls, and sometimes we get texts, and clients stop by the office and we work with them. So we're their point of contact. When they think, who's my accountant, they often will think the manager and the partner, but we're that main first point of contact for our clients. What does the day in the life of a partner look like? So the partners are, like I said, they're running the business. They own the business. So they're setting that long-term vision for the firm. So they're setting where do we want the firm business, where do we want the accounting firm as a business to be, in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. And they're helping make those decisions. What do we need to do? Do we need to hire more staff because we plan on we're budgeting for our client growth? Do we need more staff to serve those clients? They're looking at how do we continue to allow our individuals within our firm to progress, to grow. We have to make sure that there's opportunities for them to continue to grow. So they're looking at and setting that long-term vision for the firm. They deal with the big topics that the firm faces. So, just like those things that I said, they're making those decisions and they're working through those things. They're managing our marketing. How are we advertising? How are we building a new client base? How are we, with the changes that are going on, how are we making sure that we have everything in place so that we can provide our clients with the information that is needed there? They ensure the continuing growth and the financial success of the firm, and they build and maintain key relationships. So key relationships with staff, key relationships with people within Regina or within Saskatchewan, that can be referrals and can help new business come to the accounting firm as well. And they create a positive work environment. So they serve as a role model to others. They encourage and support their employees. They look for opportunities to care for their employees and to help their employees grow, and provide a mentorship and feedback to the manager group and to the partner group, or to the preparer group, as well. So that's what a day in the life of the partner. There's a lot going on in each of those areas. The days are full and are busy, which is good, and helps the days to feel really good and like you're accomplishing something and being very successful in it. I believe that is my last slide. So now I'll have a time for some questions. I know I went over a lot, and I went over a lot very quickly, but if there's any questions that anybody has, I'd be more than happy to go over them.
Thank you, Matt. That was such an awesome presentation. Very well done. It explained things, I think, right down to what students would want to know for sure. One of the things that students always actually do want to know is what would be that wage range? You said that within 10 years, you've kind of doubled your take-home pay or whatever, but what would be a starting preparer's wage?
So straight out of university, starting preparers are anywhere. It depends a little bit. Public accounting firms are a little bit different, particularly than industry and than government. But anywhere from 40 to 48,000 is likely where you would start straight out of university as an annual salary.
Awesome. Do you find a lot of your students are coming from the university more so than Polytech, or does Vertis kind of hire, from both types of programming in this province?
Yeah, I would say majority of our students come from the university, the U of R or the U of S, in both of our offices. And that's because a lot of those, the university prepares for the purposes of going to the CPA, and a lot of our students that we hire are going the CPA route. SAS Polytech builds the foundation for technical accounting, and so we do hire from the SAS Polytech as well. And they help us a lot with doing the bookkeeping and the payroll, and we have a division here that is a lot of people from SAS Polytech, and they go that. But the majority of our students are from the U of R as they go the CPA route. Where the SAS Polytech, you can't go the CPA route without getting additional classes from the U of R.
And I think that co-op program too is such a big initiation, or like also that would help a student get into a company that like yours as well too.
Definitely, the co-op program is a huge aspect. I would say, because each year we're hiring students, and I'm actually a part of the recruiting process as well. So I'm very active in there, and I do all the interviews and go through all those and see a lot of resumes. And a big thing that we look for is the co-op program. I myself went through the co-op program, as I said. A lot of our partners here went through the co-op program. A lot of our managers here have gone through the co-op program. And it builds such a good foundation very early on. You're still going through university. And when you finish university, if you have, 12 months of experience working in different accounting firms or in different industry, you're starting with a very strong foundation of learning practically when you start your career. So it's a great program. I'm a big advocate of it. Anybody that's ever asked me if they think that the co-op program is worth it, I always tell them it's more than worth it. I would highly recommend it.
Thank you. I think that's very good for students to know too. And they come out with, with minimal debt too from universities as well.
Yeah, because that's the great thing is you're going to university and you're going to take 4 months off and you're going to work, and the pay that you're making while you're going through it is it's good pay while you're going through university, even in an accounting firm during what we would call quote unquote busy season, which is the busy tax season. You get to bank your hours with Virtus Group. You get to bank your hours, and then you get that all paid out at the end. So at the end of it, I remember my first go at work term. I got my normal paychecks, and then at the end of it, I got a bonus paycheck for $3,000, and I was like, well, that either pays for my next semester, or I could go and buy a TV and a set of golf clubs. Which, I didn't make the right decision. I advise everyone, pay for your tuition with it. Don't go and buy a new TV and a set of golf clubs. But
you got to treat yourself every so often too.
That's right. That's right.
There's another question from the office here too.
So my understanding is when you go to university, you get the 4-year degree or do your co-op program. It's a little bit longer, and then once you're done, you have to work to get your CPA. Correct? So that's the night work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And once you've got that, I've got a nephew that just completed and just got his in Calgary.
Great.
Then do you see a increase in pay, like a bonus that comes along with that?
Yeah, you definitely do. So once you get your CPA, accountants will often say, once you've got your CPA, you've kind of paved your path. Like you've set your career. The rest of your career, once you have your CPA, you can get a job pretty much anywhere. So because of that demand, there's a salary bump as well. So within our firm, pretty much from the time you start until you get your CPA, there's probably, I would say, so let me do some quick math here. Probably a 20 to 25% pay increase in, 3 years from the time you graduated to the time you start, you complete your CPA.
Awesome.
That's good to know for the kids coming up. Thank you very much. You covered off everything very, very well, and we want to thank you as a team for the job that you've done. Tremendous amount of information in a very short period of time, and good information that kids can use to make good informed decisions. So thank you.
For sure.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, I think we're going to close down the Zoom meeting, and just a reminder for students too that we would like you to complete that survey. It kind of gives us a little bit of indication of how things went and how they're feeling about it, and kind of helps us to prepare for those spotlights as well. So on behalf of RDIC, thank you, Matt, for your time, and we truly appreciate that.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. And if you have any questions down the road, feel free, reach out and contact us.